Yeah, what's up, Caleb?
Hey, what's up, brother?
Yeah, it's good. It's good. It's nice seeing the drop finally. We planned really long for it, so I'm really happy with it.
Yeah, it was a big old flush out, right? Since Tuesday
Yeah, exactly.
from the FOMC, and then the next day. Yeah,
Yeah, no, I'm really happy with it because I said it in chat as well.
you were calling it for a while, so was Tip.
Yeah, I was shorting up here, and even when the news was about to happen, I got asked like if you can predict news of what's gonna happen. I just said I think we get an impulse pump, and then we just drop through. Then we get a dead cat's bounce on the Bank of Japan news,
Yeah,
and then just nuke further. And literally
yeah,
everything played out. So I'm really happy with that.
yeah. I'm curious to see how we close on the weekly, whether it's above or below this trend line, or again above or below 94K as a point of interest. But still, I'm very bullish for January. I think obviously December psychologically is a very crucial time for people to be taking profits, right? So it's kind of a mass domino effect. Then on top of that, you chuck the FOMC news and the government shutting down news. Like obviously there's a sell-off.
Wait, the government's shutting down?
Yeah, this happens quite a lot in the US, like not every year consistently, but essentially what it is they have to pass a bill, right? The bill is essentially a report on where different, finances are going to go based on salaries and things like this, and different government essential workers. Some of them don't get paid when the government is shut down. Usually, it takes up to 24 to 48 hours for them to pass the bill. Essentially, they had a bunch of rubbish in there. It then got rejected, and then they changed it. It got rejected again. The longest one that it's been is like a month, where the government was shut down for a month, which means essential workers don't get paid for that duration of time. Basically, what causes it is that Congress fails to fund the federal government by a specified deadline, which is 20th of December at midnight. Um, so yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, that is a lot of stuff to keep track of. I am really happy. I'm honestly really happy I don't do fundamental analysis because that seems so much to keep track of.
Yeah, I mean, fundamentals like FOMC is fundamentals, right? Um, but yeah, it's a good thing to keep an eye on. We'll see. Did you see how much Sui bounced though? I had a level set for 3.68. I didn't have a limit order there though. That would have been so clean.
What on earth is that candle?
Bro, literally. XRP
What
as
is
well,
that?
$3. Pepe field support. Yeah, some nice bounces.
Take a look actually. ENA
Bro,
bounced 14% on the
even
day.
the BitGet token, I've been analyzing this PA for a while. I haven't taken an entry yet, but I mean, look at this.
Wait, ME looks really good actually. Look at this.
Let me take a look at me.
We have actually like formed a proper neckline. If you actually flip this looks really good.
Mm.
It needs to flip though. It's at resistance right now, but if it does flip, it looks really good.
Hey, take a look at the BitGet token though in the chat. You're gonna love that.
What is that? BGT?
BGB, yeah.
BGB.
Bro, it's been rallying hard.
Wait, what?
Yeah, yeah.
Why is this doing well?
Bro, like
Wait, what's happening here?
it's been outperforming the market, honestly. Like it's been going crazy.
Bro, no one uses this exchange. Why is it
No,
going up?
yeah, I know.
That is wild. Like, this coin is actually in up only mode. This coin doesn't do cycles. It just goes up.
Yeah, yeah, it's been wild. It's been
That
wild.
is actually
But
crazy.
yeah, I just popped in to say hello. I'll let you continue. Sorry for interrupting.
No, that's all good. It's all good. It's fun.
No
All right, thanks for showing up. All right, let's go on with the analysis. So let's look at USDT almost first. Last time we made a new chart for this. I've since deleted that chart, but essentially what we came to is this conclusion. We looked at this chart and we said you have a lot of reasons to look at USDT dominance and be either bearish or cautious, or well, bullish on USDT, I guess. Um, and we had a few reasons for that. One, we had a macro harmonic. So if I enable this one, to show on the weekly, you can see we have a macro harmonic right over here. This is the bottom of that harmonic. Then when you zoom in, we have a daily harmonic right over there, almost at the exact same spot. And when you look at the candles, you can see that we SFP'd the previous low. So that X point, we SFP'd that. So we had a lot of reason to be cautious. And that's what we talked about for the last stream. Like, we're going to set bids lower and we're going to look for a reaction on this because this looks really good. What we then got was we got a higher low first and then we started running. We got into some shorts here and then TP'd them on the way up. Now, when we look at this chart now, we see a few things. One is that we closed above this wick. When you zoom in really far, you can see that it is slightly above it. Like, it's very slightly above it, but it is still above it. So, in theory, this means that structure and USDT dominance has shifted. This means that USDT dominance is now in a daily uptrend. If this chart is in a daily uptrend, that is bad for crypto. Because as long as this chart is going up, crypto is going down. That's what we're seeing the reaction from. So even if this is a very bearish candle at the moment, we have shifted structure. So so this individual candle that swept the highs over here might be very bearish and lead us for a little pullback in USDT dominance. Us closing this daily candle above this wick means that we are uptrending on the daily, so we can more likely expect a higher low. The reason for that is very simple. The markets move like this, right? They go up and down, and if you get a structure shift, it goes like this. Trend is always more likely to continue than this to break. Sometimes it breaks, like over here, but overall, it will usually continue. That is what we're seeing over here. So what we're seeing right now is this. We have just went from doing this to doing this. We just flipped structure, we are now here. So we don't know if we're actually like in this part or if we're in this part. But what we do know is that if we get a drop, because of the structure shift, it is very likely to be a higher low, a USDT dominance. Because we now have a first higher low, now a higher high. That is very important. So now we can expect a higher low again. This is a very bad sign for the crypto markets. This is not good. Because this means that on the daily, technically, we should start downtrending on the crypto markets, which is really not good if you just joined in, right? However, what I will say is that this candle looks absolutely, utterly disgusting. This is a really ugly candle. This is a textbook shooting star or inverse hammer, however you want to call it. We swept the highs over here. We swept these equal highs, and we rejected really hard. If we close like this, I think we can reliably say that we're gonna go at least form a higher low in this area. And we don't know where it's gonna be, right? That can be anywhere above this one. As long as it's above this area, so essentially the entry of this long, it can be a higher low. So that can be here. That can also be here. We don't know that. However, what we do know is it is very likely that we're gonna get a higher low. Now, what are we gonna do with that? I am likely gonna be looking to short that. We got into spot positions over here. I'm planning to TP them up here and move my stops somewhere over here, right? All of this is inverse to the crypto market. And then we're going to get into shorts. So for USDT dominance, I think short term this chart's going to go down. I think long term this chart's going to go up. I do think we get this T1. Now when we hit that T1, that is when I'm going to start reconsidering, because that is a very significant level. So after that, maybe it changes. However, I think this is your first warning sign that, hey, if this trend continues, like, this is really bearish for crypto. Us flipping daily structure in USDT dominance is a very bad sign for crypto. Okay, that is the update on USDT dominance. Are there any questions about that? Because this is mostly just a recap of what happened last stream and now what we can expect now. Because if not, we're gonna get to EC dominance, the other dominance chart. Let me get some to drink actually. What is the time frame on that? The candles you saw were daily candles. So I expected higher low to form in the coming few days. Now, some of you that are completely new here might not notice, but holiday seasons are usually a bit dry. And what that means is that the markets are going to move more slowly. So when I say a few days, I am assuming that it's going to happen next week. We're heading into the weekend now. The weekend is usually very dry. And holiday seasons are very dry. So what I think is going to happen is that we are not going to do all that much heading into the weekend. But then next week, so let's say Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, that's when we're going to see the real action. So what's the time frame of that? Probably before next week, Thursday. Because Tuesday and Thursday are usually the most busy days. So it's purely based on volume. I do have one significant date in time-based analysis, and that's the 27th. But I cannot tell you if that is going to be a bottom or a top. Just think the 27th is going to be a very important date. Okay, let's take a look at BTC dominance. So for BTC dominance, we actually went higher than I expected. We tapped into the area and we didn't see any reaction at all. We kind of saw one bearish candle on the 6 hour, but apart from that, we really didn't see anything. And we are currently peaking above it and trying to retest it. How this candle is going to close on BTC dominance is going to mean a lot for altcoins. So essentially what we want is we want it to close somewhere like this. We want this to be a large wick and us to close red or very slightly green. And the reason for that is because that would indicate indecisiveness on a very strong push up. And that would essentially tell us that we are bearish retesting this area. Because we have a very important liquidity level over here. Then when we lost this level, we started absolutely nuking down. So this is a very important level that we just retested. So if we do close the candles like this, where it's essentially just a bearish candle close, then I do expect lower on BTC dominance. However, if we start closing higher than this, that's where you maybe have some trouble. But in general, I think this chart, it went slightly higher than we expected, but I think this now looks pretty bearish. This is the reaction we were hoping for. This is the reaction I put in in my channel when we hit the shark, and this is exactly what I was talking about, albeit a bit higher. So we have now done that, so now I expect us to go lower. That's also why I said in chat this morning, I said, because someone asked if they should start bidding, I said, yeah, you can start bidding if you start lightly. What? And I just said altcoins. Because in general, I think this is a bearish close. Like a very bearish close. And if it actually does close like that, I think BTC dominance is going to go a lot lower. So that combined with possibly USDT dominance starting to form, going lower for a higher low, it's going to make a really nice leg up on alts. So I think for altcoins, this is very good, this combination. Now, that might not always play out, right? Because you can also look at this differently and say, hey, we are trying to flip this 5-0 to support. In general, I would need one more candle close for that. So I would not be 100% sure of that. Now, if we look at the weekly, that's when we can get a really clear candle, right? If we close the weekly below this 5-0, that would be absolutely fantastic for altcoins. If we close above it, that is going to be a bit bad. So I'm going to pay a lot of attention to the weekly candles for that reason. Because you either want this to close as a bearish retest, or it's going to close as a potential flip. And you really don't want that. So BTC dominance is in a very interesting spot. But in general, I think altcoins are going to perform a lot better over the coming few days. I think this chart looks a lot more bearish than it used to be. Okay. Now that we've done that, I want to go over Bitcoin specifically. Because Bitcoin looks very red. However, I think the chart looks really good now. So what I'm going to do is we're going to go into Fetch BTC chart. And we're going to look at this. So first of all, the reason why we shorted, because we are still on the swing short, right? I think I have it over here. We're still in a swing short right over here. The reason why we shorted is this. When you do something very simple, right? This is a very, very old chart pattern that not a lot of people know about. is called a lightning pattern. When you take a line that simply measures the move from our cycle lows to our previous swing high, and you simply copy that line and put it on the next wick. So essentially what we're doing is we're measuring the length of this and then measuring the length of this. What we get is this. That is what we reject this from. This is called a lightning pattern, and essentially what it says is if you have a move of X length, then get a retracement, then move the same length up again, that is going to be a very important level. So that is essentially what we rejected off of. We had a very textbook reaction to it. We wicked within and had a very bearish candle close into it at the top of that. This is what we rejected off of. This is why we shorted. Now, I want to say, when you zoom out like this doesn't look good at all. When we zoom out, this looks an awful lot like it is starting to top, for the reason that we have a very important level and a very bearish candle close. However, when we look at a slightly higher time frame, it looks absolutely fine. And I say that because this chart is obviously still uptrending. However, this is your low, and that is a bit worrying for people that are very heavily allocated, because if this is your low, technically on a weekly time frame we are uptrending until we close below 49k. That is a very big drop. So I want to say we are going to be uptrending on the weekly for a very long time, and the reason for that is because we did not form any lows in this area. Okay, use the same logic to measure the retracement. Yes, you can. ETH is a good example of that. There you go to the ETH chart. We go to ETH and we do the exact same. Am I on log? No. What is it? This chart looks so weird. Oh, because I'm on the day. I was looking at this thinking it was this. Okay. Yeah. Exact same logic. We take this length and we just put it over there on the wick. And there you have it, your bottom. This is a very good chart pattern to use on the macro time frame. This is a very good pattern. It is also a very old pattern. This is a pattern that people used back when you still had to draw your charts on pen and paper. But it is a very good pattern. This really works because people forgot about it, even though it's very simple. And this is also one of the things harmonics are based upon. Harmonics use this concept as well. Anyway, to go back to what I came from is this. Because our low is over here, even if we form a higher low at 75k, or even if we do it at 54k, that is still going to be a higher low. So when people tell you, hey, you should still be bullish because you are still uptrending on the weekly, well, yeah, they're not wrong. But we cannot trade that. Because let's say I'm bullish and I will along this, well, this is not a good long. That's simply put, this is your invalidation for longs on a macro time frame. So yes, we are still bullish on a high time frame, but this is not something you can play. It really isn't, because this invalidation is way too wide. So what we do is we go to a lower time frame and we look at the daily. So in this case, we look at this, and this candle is forming beautifully. This candle is forming like a really bullish candle. And the reason for that is because we are wicking these lows. We wicked this low as well, and we are now looking to close above in a way that shows a clear rejection. It is the exact same candle as you have over here, where you have a really tight body and then a large wick into the area you try to get into, and then you close below it. You close below all of the wicks. If this candle closes like this, I think it is very good, and I think we should continue this run and maybe even make new highs. However, if we close below this wick, that is going to be harder. So the line in the sand essentially is 95k. 95.7 is my invalidation as well. If we close below this, I am likely going to cut the new small positions we have. So I think this is going to be a very important daily close. We really want to close above this for the simple reason that we're also heading into weekend. Liquidity is going to be lower, volume is going to be lower, the market's going to move slow. So we just want to be as high as we can to make sure the weekend doesn't mess anything up. Now on the weekly again, we simply can't trade this. We cannot trade the weekly time frame. This is bullish until we close below 49k. Well, I don't think we're going to close the weekly below 49k anytime soon. So we can simply use the daily for that. And the daily looks pretty good. If we close like this, the daily looks really good. Which is why we started getting into spot positions again. Because keep in mind, we shorted this, and we mostly got out of spot. We exited almost all of our spot positions except for the long-term one, so I was 80% USDT. And now we're getting rewarded for that. We can re-enter. That is what we're doing this for, right? That is peak sell the euphoria, buy the fear. That's what we're buying. But it is, of course, a bit risky because we don't have the candle closes yet. So that's also why we went lower size. And I want to give you guys that info as well, because you don't always have to fully buy. In this case, I really think the market is going to go up. And I really do think that because this candle looks really good and we swept so much liquidity. And when we go to a lower time frame, you can also see that the reaction that we're getting off these levels is really, really good. However, we have no confirmation on the daily yet. We are not 100% sure that this is going to be a good candle close. So for that reason, we simply enter light. You saw me enter positions this morning. I entered TIA with 50% because it was really high conviction. We entered Hook with, I think, 30%. We entered Vanry with 20%. We got partially out of Fed and Say. TP that a little bit just to have more room to DCA. It's just because we want to be in, because we think it's going to go up, but we don't have the confirmation yet. And then once we have the confirmation, we can add. It's that simple. So you don't have to always fully allocate. You can just partially allocate and then DCA slightly higher or lower. Because in my eyes, even if you get a slightly higher entry that way, the confirmation you get by saving funds to add later is way more worth. Because you need that confirmation to actually go up. If you're not close below this, well, that makes your spot positions in really tight spots. If you were fully allocated, that would stress me out as well. But now we have complete ease of mind because we have funds to DCA, we have funds to add up. If we don't get the confirmation, we're still completely fine. If we go up, we're also completely fine because we are allocated. So you'll be looking to take a long if we close the daily above 95k. How do you measure the stop loss looking at the dailies? I wouldn't. I am not going to look to long this for the reason that BTC dominance is really bearish. So what I'm using this for is this. This is giving me my bias. If we close above this, I have a long bias. I want to be long allocated, or I want to be allocated on spot because I think the market's going to go up. Now what I do then is I look at BTC dominance. I look at this and I see, hey, this candle looks really bearish. I think this candle looks disgusting. We're sweeping a lot of highs. We're retesting an order block. We're peaking above an important area, but we don't have any high time frame closes above it yet. So I use that bias from BTC. Then I get that bias. I look at BTC dominance, and since this looks bearish in my eyes, I think, okay, so if I want a long, I should be long in altcoins. If I wanted to short, I would go and short BTC because this chart looks bearish. So altcoins, in my eyes, are going to perform better than BTC. Does that make sense? So far we are in an area of uncertainty. I mean, everything is really uncertain, but for me now, we're waiting for confirmation for me. Yeah, exactly. We're waiting for confirmation. So that is why I entered light, because I don't want to miss the move. I want to be partially allocated. But we have a lot of powder left because we don't have confirmation. You want to be sure before you actually add. Because entering light, well, for example, let's take Vanry, right? I think it was 20 or 30% in Vanry. I have it on the chart. Where's Vanry? So look at Vanry. We're 20% allocated, right? That is not a lot. We could have added more. However, what this brings us is even if we just nuke through and hit stops, that will be a 20% stop loss. That is a lot, right? We're only 20% allocated. So that is, in fact, a 4% stop loss. That is completely manageable. And if we don't, if we now sweep this and close above, you have a very good DCA. Or alternatively, if we start going above now and start flipping this level into support or flipping this into support, we can just add higher. And our average is going to be somewhere down here. So now what we're going to have is we're going to add here, and then you have an average somewhere up here, and we can just put our stop loss at entry, even though we just entered. That is what that is what this gives you. It gives you a lot of possibilities to manage your plays with. So that's why I really like just entering light at these moments, so you have a lot of possibilities. Because let's be honest, this 20% position, we're not just going to TP this and call it a day, because you're not making that much with it. We're doing this so we can easily add up without any extra risk. It was good, Serta. Good seeing you. 99k short. No. I was literally just talking about the longs, brother. If this closes above, I think this candle looks really good. So I think BTC is gonna go up because we're closing as a sweep, and we're closing exactly as this candle. So if you look at this candle, do you think longing here would have been a good idea? Because that's essentially what we're doing here if we're gonna short 99k. We take this, and then slightly higher, we short. It doesn't make sense. That's the same thing as doing it here. We take this, and a slightly lower, we long. So no, I think this looks really good. I think the only short you can consider is if you kind of sweep this, and then go lower. Then you could try and open a short. But overall, I wouldn't look to short this. We're already short. The short that should have been taken is up here, which is why we shorted it. So now I don't have any short for you. There's actually no level right now I would short. I really like Grass assertive support and position management. It's like the equivalent of micromanagement on a working environment. Reaction and that quick. I appreciate that. That's really nice, and I'm sure Serta appreciates that as well. Yeah, that's the thing, because the markets move really fast, right? For example, when I go to our say position, where say? When I go to our say position, this was it, right? So we entered very lightly here. Very lightly up here on the butterfly, then we DCA, this is our average now. And when we set this play, it will simply, these are going to be our stink bits. So the idea behind that is, hey, if we get a flush, we're going to drop down, wick into it, and go above. That is the thesis behind it. But you never know if that's actually going to happen. So for example, now we were on BTC, when we zoom in a little, we were just building down, which is not a flush, which is not what you want for stink bits. So now your entire thesis changes. Because if you go down like this, when we zoom in a little, now that all of a sudden looks like a way stronger down movement. Because you are going down, retesting important levels. Going down, retesting important levels. Going down, retest. That is a way better move than just doing this. So this calls for something entirely different. So that's why it's important to have your thesis set and then adapt to it. If something changes, well, your position should change as well. There's no reason why you should stick to a thesis that is not happening at all. So that's why we changed this, right? That's why I said I'm going to TP early, because we're building down. This move down is a lot stronger than expected, so I'm going to TP this just so we have room to DTA. If you go even lower, I want to DTA. By the way, have you looked at hype, missed new analysis on it? Yeah, I'm not going to get into hype. I've seen that it's just absolutely like rallying today. I charted this for someone, but I don't want to get into this. And the reason for that is because this coin is incredibly overvalued. People got an airdrop like literally like hundreds of thousands. Like I've seen screenshots of people, I've seen people in Discord literally get dropped $500,000 off of this. And the only reason why it keeps rallying is because there's an insane buyback going on from the team. But without that buyback, this is just an airdrop token. Yeah, I got dropped 2 million. What are you going to do if you randomly get dropped 2 million just for using an exchange? You're going to sell that. So the reason why it keeps going up is because there's an insane buyback and burn rate on this token by the exchange itself. But there is another airdrop coming, and this chart is actually in up only mode. They cannot keep that buying up. They can't. And the market cap is really high. So when the next airdrop comes out, it's likely just going to plummet. And that is not actually going to happen on the airdrop, that is going to happen on a random announcement. And on top of that, there's no entry to be had here. You can't really enter. This can pull like 2x at max, where you consider the market cap. But there are a lot of tokens out there that can do way more. So I don't think the risk to reward is worth it. So I get why people are looking at this, because it is just going up, which is insane. But this isn't a place you're entering. So I'm just not looking at this chart at all. Because I'm not going to short a coin with this strength anyway, right? Not going to do that either, so I have no reason to look at this chart. KC Sol. Yeah, let's look at Sol. That's good. So I'll go on to a clean chart, because on a macro time frame, not a lot has changed apart from Sol looking even worse than before. We've dropped even lower than before. We SFP'd completely and dropped even lower. The only good thing Sol has going for it on a high time frame is this. We just retested this bullish order block, and we're trying to flip this anti-butterfly to support. However, when we zoom in, it doesn't look that good. I will say it kind of looks a lot better than before, for the simple reason that what's it called? That we have kind of flushed everyone out. Everyone that had their stops somewhere in this region is now gone. So this coin looks a lot better. And the second thing I want to point out is this. I don't know if this one is valid on a perp chart. I mean on a spot chart. No, it isn't. Okay, I'll showcase it on a perp chart. Okay, when we look at this, we have a very clean gardening. So we put our X to A to B. We see that this is 0.618, and at the top is between 0.382 and an 886. So actually, we're going to be looking at the 786 over here. When we look at that, the 786 is right over here, and it is on the exact same spot as a 1.618. This right over here is a very clean gardening. And that's what we're bouncing off of currently. So what I expect is for this to hit a TP and then go lower. But what I will say is this looks pretty good. Because TP1 is over here. TP2 is over here. These are the technical targets. So essentially what I'm looking for on Sol is it either goes back down and sweep this low and then reclaims, or it's just going to go straight up into the TPs. If it just goes straight up into the TPs, we can't really play it, because the entry to be had was down here, and we chose other plays, right? That's why we entered something like TIA instead at the same time. So Sol looks good. I think other coins look better. However, if we do go down and we reclaim this, that's when we can start actually looking at plays. So if we do this, if we actually sweep and reclaim, you can look for a long. What you're going to do is, the long is going to be an entry on a candle close and stops below the wick. And these are going to be the TPs. Now, there's a chance this happens, but I don't think this is likely. I think this is only likely if we first take TP1 right over here. Because the thing some harmonics do is they hit TP1, just like this, then they start going down again, sweep the low over here, and then go up to TP2. So if that happens, that's going to be a really good entry. So essentially for Solana, I would be looking at an entry over here. And if we don't get it, we don't get it. It's that simple as well. Because there's a lot of coins out there, so we don't need to be trading this coin. If you want to be trading this coin, I would wait for a sweep. Now for spot position, and I know that this doesn't sound that good, but for a spot position, I will be looking at something entirely different. I'll post this first. For a spot position, I'm going to zoom out and draw nearly the same one again, but from a swing low. This is the swing low, right? This is the low of the range to a swing high. What we see when we do that is that we have 0.382 X to B. Now 0.382 X to B forms into a bat at the 886 right over here. I don't think this is likely at all. However, I am also not someone who really wants to get into Sol. So the only level I am willing to bid on spot is this level. That shit looks scary. Yeah, it does look scary, but I'm going to show you the same ones on Bonk and Whiff. Just to show what I mean with this. Because let me put it differently. Because I gave this to I gave Bonk to someone a week ago. And they said it looks really scary and that's never going to happen. And I told them, and this is an answer I always give to people, I know it looks unlikely, but I cannot remove the fibs. It is that simple. The fibs are there. If we get there, that is a really good place to bid. And I just want to put that out there. I am not someone who really likes Sol because I think Sol is at max going to 328. That is not that big of an increase compared to some other coins. However, if we do get to this level, and that looks really interesting all of a sudden. Yeah, I don't think the chances are that low, to be honest. I'll see you later, Bird. And have fun. I don't think the chances are that low for the reason that we are sitting below and closing below this B point. So I don't think it is that unlikely to actually get there. As long as we're sitting below this point, this chart is clearly downtrending. And trend is always more likely to continue than it is to break. So I think reaching this is more likely than breaking this. So I don't think the chances of getting here are that low. Especially when we consider that USDT Dominus broke daily structure. Like, I wouldn't say it's like very likely to happen, but I wouldn't say it's unlikely either. I would literally just give it a 50-50 like that. I don't think this is very unlikely. And on top of that, there is not much liquidity to the upside. We swept all-time highs. Like, all of the shorters over here are gone. There's not much liquidity to be had, but we left all of these behind. We never took these. This is not called vertical accumulation, for the reason that this is not chopping people out. When it wicks below the entire time and stops every longer out, that is vertical accumulation. The only thing this is accumulating is longs. And longs usually get hunted. So I don't think this is a likely trade. So for a spot position, this is the only level I'm willing to bid. Everything before that, in my eyes, is just going to be a lower high. And to show you what I mean, I will show my Bonk chart. And that is this one. I showed this Bonk chart to someone up here. I said the only level I am willing to bid for Bonk is this level. And this chart was scary. Like, it was really scary. Because we were looking at it like this, right? We were looking at it and I was like, this is the only level I'm willing to bid on Bonk. I don't want to bid anything before that because it just doesn't look good. Like, maybe you play the range. You can scalp trade it. This range is very scalpable. But this is not the level you bid. And we all know what happened afterwards. It is not impossible for these things to happen. And especially as long as you are below the B point, as you can see right here. We dropped below it, then came back, retested it, failed the retest, and just nuked. As long as we're below the B point, I think it is decently likely to hit. What was the last low on the bullish price action on the weekly? Are you talking about BTC or Sol? On Sol. The last weekly lows over here. So Sol is uptrending on the weekly until we close below 110. Now this is your wick for market structure. You can make an argument for this one, but on the weekly I'm just going to take the lowest point in this low. Because essentially what we're saying is this is the low, and we just take the lowest point. Like, you can argue for this, but this is not a valid low in my opinion. Because that would mean that this is a valid weekly high, so you're essentially doing this. But then this was an uptrend, so that doesn't make sense. So this is a low. So that's also why I don't disagree with Soul, but bidding here, in my opinion, doesn't make much sense. If you do want to do that, I would say start light, and you have easy invalidation if you make an low. Because you do have a really nice diagonal support over here. So if you ever close below this diagonal, that's where you can just cut, and then you wait for this area to hit. Because in the end, we just play the highest probability, right? That's also why I am bidding something like Tia, even though Tia, when you zoom out, looks infinitely weaker, let's say, than Soul. Because Soul does look pretty strong, right? Because it is very clearly uptrending. But I prefer to bid Tia, even though it looks like this. And the very simple reason for that is when we look at this chart, this is very easily risk managed. This is your validation. That's clear. This is your low, right here. And this chart is also very clearly uptrending. Because we broke this high. Or even if you take this as a high, we broke that. We closed way above it. And for the record, we entered over here, right? This is very clear invalidation. This is a risk I'm willing to take. Because this is your low for market structure, right? And even if you take it to the weekly, then this is your low for market structure. But when we look at Soul, where's your low for market structure on the daily? Well, I wouldn't really call this a daily low. If you do, then this is not a chart you want to be touching in, like at all. If you don't count that, I would count this one. This is the one I actually count for daily structure. That is not a long I would take. Let's take it at the same spot as Tia, right? So somewhere 1/3 of the wick. 14% versus 9%. Almost twice as much risk for less upside. Do you know if any of these get recorded? Yes, I always record it. I'm gonna upload it in my channel on YouTube, and I'm gonna put it into the recording channel as well. It's gonna be recorded. False on injective. Yeah, we can look at injective. So that's it for Soul. Are there any questions about Soul? Are you saying we visit 120 to 140 first before we go to 200 plus? Yeah, I think that is more likely. Well, 200 plus, not per se. So when we look at this, and we zoom in, and just use like 4-hour structure, right? This is a downtrend, clearly. You can take, this is the actual high, right? Someone is going to make an argument for this one. But in my eyes, this is the valid swing high. So what I'm saying is I think Soul is more likely to keep going down than it is to close above this. And for that reason, I want to set bids lower. So this is not a chart I would short either, right? Because your actual invalidation is up here. So I would never short Soul in this position. But I do think it is more likely to keep going down. So I want to bid lower if I want to bid. This is well managed in terms of margin. I just like using it. Yeah. I did that as well. I did that for Tia as well. I have like 150x long on Tia without a stop loss because it is a complete swing. Like the margin is really well managed. I cannot get liquidated on that long. So I'm in the exact same spot. I posted that in another Discord, and there were like 3 people just pinging me like, "What? What are you doing?" Yeah, it doesn't matter anyway, right? If you really know how leverage works, leverage doesn't matter. Because it's all position sizing anyway. I could play it on 150x or on 1x, and it would be the exact same play. Okay, let's look at the injective. You see, higher level of how do you have so much more margin in return to you. Where did you learn the harmonic system? I learned it from Scott Carney's books. Harmonics are a very new system. So the person who made them is still, still very active. He wrote 4 books about them, and he streams like every week, twice a week or something. So I learned it from him. No, not even. I literally read only. Actually, I only read the harmonic books. Now that I think about it, I don't actually read anything else. He ancient. No, brother, I'm 21. I'm not that old. I'm not ancient yet. Yeah. There's a what's it called? I'll link my pinned message because I have a pinned message on how I started learning harmonics on my channel. Let me find it real quick before we take a look at Injective. It is this one. That's why I explained it. This system really seems complex, proven to work. It is absolutely proven to work. It is not as complex as it looks. It looks really complicated. It isn't that difficult. I learned the most from you. That's really... I appreciate that. And I'm glad you learned a lot from it. Please type the book name again. It's in the message I linked. I just put the PDFs there as well. The PDFs are free anyway, so you can just take them from there. The reason why harmonics are not that complicated as they look is because it's essentially just fibs. All you're doing when you're drawing harmonics, and obviously I know the patterns out of my head, right? So I'm just like naming random numbers and you guys kind of assume that I'm right. I'm saying, hey, this is a Gartley, and no one's going to actually check it. But when you do check this, you're going to see, hey, the ratios are right. But essentially what you're doing is you're just matching fibs onto each other. You're just saying, hey, this is a 0.618, essentially. This is a 0.786. 618 as well, and a 1.618. These all match and they form a pattern. So essentially what you're saying is, hey, this is a very important level on the chart. And that's it. It's actually just a fib. It looks really difficult and it takes effort to learn, absolutely. You don't learn this without learning. You can't just pick this up because you watch someone do it a few times. But if you put in the effort, it is not that difficult as it looks. I think something like order flow is a lot more complicated. You need to memorize a lot more. This just comes with time, memorization. You said you only do harmonics. What about trading psychology? Yeah, no, I'll just give the answer to that. Screw it. This is gonna sound really stupid, but I learned my trading psychology in a video game. I played a lot of League of Legends before I came here, and I tried to go pro in that game, and I got decently close at it. But long story short, when you play that game, and you get into a decently high elo, you're gonna encounter a lot of terrible people, because people that are good at that game are terrible humans usually. So, for that reason, that is a massive mental strain. And on top of that, in general, being competitive in anything and being really good at anything is gonna take a lot of practice and a lot of the same systems over and over again. So I also teach my students a lot of things that you learn in trading, you can use that in other things. You can use that in sports, for example. Because, in my opinion, the most important mental skill to have, like truly the most important skill to have, is the ability to both have an ego at the same time and drop your ego. You need to be able to stand by your own positions, to stand by your, like, completely your own conviction, but you also have to be able to drop that conviction when you are wrong and look back on it and learn from that. And those two aspects are very polarizing because you need to stand by everything you do, and then the moment it goes wrong, you need to completely drop that and learn from it. And that takes a lot of skill. But once you do know how to do that, that is something you can use in everything. Like in literally everything. You can use that in sports, you can use that in video games, you can use that in chess, you can use that in poker, you can use that in trading, you can use it in everything. Because once you know how to improve yourself, you can get good at anything. That is a true skill you learn. So that is something I learned. And that is something I use a lot in trading, because trading gives you a lot of feedback, right? You can do the same thing as much as you want to, and it is going to give you feedback over and over again. And if you know how to improve on it, you're going to get better at it. And apart from that, in the reason, like how I learned trading psychology specifically, in League specifically, you need to develop a very important skill, and that is to ignore everything around you. Because the people that keep typing are usually wrong. So you need to be able to ignore them and listen to yourself. And doing that while keeping the focus on yourself, while also just getting messed up by random factors, right? In trading, for example, you can play a perfectly good setup and get stopped out. A lot of the times, you're gonna have an absolutely perfect setup and you're still gonna be stopped out. That's also why I am always sitting at like a 70 to 80% win rate and never above that. Because sometimes, even if you play the perfect setup, you're gonna get stopped out. And that is something that I learned in League as well, where sometimes you play perfect, but you just have a bad team and you lose the game. It is what it is. So that translates as well, and that's an important skill I learned there as well. But most importantly is the self-improvement skill. That is literally the most important part of trading. How long you learned trading before you mastered it? Let me go to this chart. No way, I have my students' charts on there. Can I go onto this one? No. Do it on this one. I got into NFTs first, somewhere in this region. I don't know where. It can be here, it can be here. I don't know. Soul was at like $20-ish. That's all I know. I got into leverage trading over here. Then I started trading harmonics over here, and this is where I became an analyst. That is my timeline. But don't don't compare yourself to others, because you truly are like truly everyone takes their own journey. So it can take you a lot longer to be profitable. It can take you a lot shorter to be profitable. And it really doesn't matter. That's the thing. You just focus on yourself and eventually it will come. I've read New Age of Technical Analysis, where the book of TA comes from. Fundamentally, I come from a strong feel, but I'm actually really interested in its harmonic system to learn. Okay, that is a long answer, so I'm gonna answer that later. Yeah, I know that is fast. But as I said, I think the most important and the hardest part of trading is psychology. And I learned psychology before this. Because when you look at trading, when you look at technical analysis itself is not that hard to learn. Like you can learn chart patterns and support and resistance in a few weeks. And when you purely isolate on a TA basis, you're gonna be decently good at it. You're gonna be good enough to be profitable on the TA basis, right? Because we can look at this chart, and when you know how trading works, you can see, hey, we broke structure here. It is now uptrending. And you can take long anywhere in this area, and you're going to be fine. TA doesn't take that long to learn. And you can say, hey, these previous wicks are important. This is support now. I'm not saying it's easy, but if you put in the time, TA is not that hard to learn. Psychology is way harder. And I had a lot of time to develop psychology. So I don't think this truly represents my learning curve. Because I've been learning trading psychology for a long time. And that goes for anything, right? That goes for that is also one of the reasons why I think people that play professional sports are good at other sports as well. Because it is a mental game mostly, and your skills will come if you have the good mindset and if you know how to do it. A bit more than it's a bit more than 1 year. That is also there's like this TradingView recap thing. It is actually this one here. I have a TradingView recap. Where's my can I go back on this? I can't. Okay, it was like 340 days or something like that. What are you looking at, bro? It is like that is actually you guys, by the way. That is not my symbols. That is all of the tickets you guys are suggesting. That is not even on me. That is actually not even on me. That's like everyone that's telling me like, yo, you need to look at Fart Coin. Like every other week, there's an yeah, exactly. Can we look at Fork? No, we can look at that later. And yeah, for the harmonics, so for being interested in harmonics, I really recommend it. I really recommend harmonics, and I will say, I think the best way to learn harmonics is through the books. Truly, I think the best way to learn harmonics is just start up the books, read a few pages every day, and get back on the charts. And while you read the books, you chart. That's it. So it's going to be talking about fib retracements first. I guess your individual retracements, and just chart along. Just go on to lead C chart, go on to like an hourly chart, and go like, okay, so this guy is telling me that the 0.618 retracement is really important. So what if I just take this and mark out that 618? And then I'm gonna just put this on my chart and see, okay, is that gonna react? And then the next day when you come back and when you read a few more pages, you're gonna also check if your play plays out. Those kind of things. That is how I learned. That's what I did. I was reading and I was charting alongside it. If you don't want to do that, and I am not going to show, I do have a course. You can join that. You can learn it from the books as well. You don't need to do that. Learning from the books is how I did it. And apart from that, just study charts. Study my charts. They're all on my channel. You can all study them. And if you request something, like I usually have my harmonics hidden, for example, for pure clarity, right? So when we go to this chart, I have most of these harmonics hidden. The PDFs are in the message I linked. In this one. I have most harmonics hidden. You can always ask them. I will unhide them because it's actually just for clarity. I don't want to have all of these enabled. It's going to be chaotic. So yeah, that's what I recommend. And if you have questions, you can always reach out. I'll answer. Okay, yeah, I was gonna look at injective first. Let's do that. So I'm gonna start up this chart first. Where is injective? What type of fib tools do you use mostly? I use this one, just a regular fib retracement tool, just to measure harmonics, because harmonics use these a lot. And as for actual using the fib itself, I use the fib fans the most. So I think injective is actually a really good example of why I would use that. And it's now getting really chaotic, right? For example, that's what I use it for. The fib fan is essentially just a trend line. You keep tapping it and then closing above and then going higher. Or you use the fib fan the same way you would use a regular fib. So in this case, yeah, let's rechart injective actually, just to show the point. Now, I will say I'm on KuCoin now. This chart has worse liquidity. It is going to be less accurate. Because obviously, the more liquidity, the more accurate it is. So what I'm going to do, and it's very important with fib fans that you choose the absolute low. So I take the lowest point on this chart. Is that actually the lowest point? Wait, let me actually test. 1134, and then yeah, okay. So this is the lowest point on the chart. So I'm gonna take that. Everything is green. Wow. I'm gonna take that, and then I'm gonna place that to the high. I just take a swing low to a swing high. That's it. That's how I use the fan. And what you get are essentially trend lines. That's how you can treat them. If you're used to regular TA, this is essentially just a trend line. So we can obviously look to the left of this and see, hey, this works really well. That is not useful, right? This is the high we put it on. Everything to the left of this is not useful, no matter how good it looks. So we look at this. How would you treat this trend line? This is simply the place you're along from the moment you get a rejection. Same with this. Same with this. These are essentially just trend lines. So when you drop back below this, come back for the retest and get a candle like this, you can short it. Because this is you rejecting a trend line. I have these fib settings in my channel somewhere. Yeah, you can use the same levels as fib retracement. That is my basic preset. I have a lot more, but that is the basic one. Okay, the ask for rejective, you already saw it when we were on, I think it was this one. We have a harmonic here. Yeah, no problem. We have a harmonic here. This is a bullish cardinal, and this looks really good overall. I think this is going to at least this 0.382. This is the technical target. We always draw a fib from the highest point to the lowest point, and the 0.382 and the 618 are going to be the technical targets. So technical target 1 is the 382, and technical target 2 is the 618. Those are our targets. Now the long ideally would have been over here. We didn't take that because I didn't want to leverage trade this, because I also just haven't slept that much. Not really responsible to be leverage trading a knife catch like that. This would have been a long. Now, the most important part about this is that this is the most important level. And the reason for that is if we draw 2 fibs, I'm not going to draw everything, but if I draw 2 fibs, you're going to see that the 786 and 618 are right on the same spot, essentially. So this is our most important level. So if we ever do get a retest of this, this is essentially what you want to be bidding. So if we get a retest, just like this, that just kind of wicks within, closes above, that's where you can take the long. Right now, we cannot do anything, because right now, like, objective is already up there. So we either wait for something new to form. There is, and these ones are a lot more complicated. The informal patterns are a lot more complicated. But there's a white swan over here as well. Right over here to that 786 to 382. So we either wait for a short over in this direction, or for this to come back down and then we long this direction. So I think injective looks really good. And when zoomed out, when we look at the actual, like, my macro injective chart, I think this chart looks really good as well. We almost tapped this macro harmonic. This one should be at the 786 right over here. But we did retest this little purple box. We wicked within this and we're looking to close above, which is really good. If we actually close above this, that is a full retest. So if we actually do that, I think injective looks ready for a lot higher. Because this chart, and we talked about it last time, I said injective is one of the only coins that actually looks good. This chart is uptrending. It is that simple. No matter what time frame you go to, this chart is uptrending. You can make an argument for the daily now. You can say that this is your daily low. Sure. When we zoom out, this is your weekly low. These highs were very important, and we closed above this. Now, when we look at the weekly structure, this was your high, your low, your high, and your low. This is uptrending. When we go to the daily, you can make an argument for a downtrend. I still think that this is the actual daily low. So in general, I consider this an uptrend as well. I think this coin looks really good. And as for targets, same thing as last stream. Again, I think your final target is going to be 63. Because let's use this concept again, right? If we are uptrending, which we are, your high, your low, higher, higher low. Logically speaking, after a higher low comes a higher high. So on a very high time frame, it makes sense for us to at least go to this. So I think injective on a high time frame looks really good. I think this is one of the best looking alts. Henry is just up 7%. What is this coin doing? Yeah, what is everything doing actually? I want to see Tia then. Hey, T is up as well. We're doing good. Alright, but yeah, that is it for injective. I think on a lower time frame, you can maybe get bits in if we do get a retest of this. On a higher time frame, I just think this coin looks good. Even if you said right now, like, hey, I am not exposed to injective, I want to start a position, I think it would make sense to Look, I'm not gonna stop you. At 20% position, something like that makes sense to start here. And you just cut if we ever lose this box. I miss a T entry. What would you say is a rule of thumb? Okay. For missed entries, it highly depends on the play. So for leverage, this is not something I would take. Even if it was up here, I wouldn't take it anymore because your risk reward is gone. So for leverage, I'm pretty strict with that. I don't really enter late. Now, if you're gonna enter here, well, who cares? That's still the same thing. If you're gonna enter here, way too late. A bit subjective, but on leverage, I would never chase. On spot, you can make a different argument for it. You shouldn't chase a trade. TIA is up quite a bit for us already. TIA is now up 16%. So now what you're going to be looking for is where is my invalidation? Your invalidation is a daily close below this. That is down 20%. 20% is a lot. It is not unmanageable if you start light. So I would never enter this play fully. I would never fully enter. However, when we look at the time frame this play is on, our low invalidation is this. Our main target is this one. That is still decent risk reward. That is still 80% to 20%. That is a full risk reward still. That is not bad. So when you look at a play like this, you can enter light. You can enter with like 20%. But I wouldn't enter fully because your stop is 20% away. And I would not want to take a 20% stop loss on spot. That is a lot. So look at the time frame it's on. Look at your TP. This is my main target. I should actually post the TPs for this. Because this is not actually my target, right? I'm planning to run this up to here. This is going to be the main TP, then this, then this. But in general, I think entering light makes sense here. Like 20%, something like that makes sense. And then you either add more if we ever get down to this entry. Or if you go up higher now, we like kind of form a high over here. Then go for a higher low, then break it. They can add. You add on strength or you add on weakness. Starting a position makes sense if you're chasing on spot. That you can do that if the chart still looks good. Fully entering, wouldn't do that. Never do that. But you can start a position slightly late, for sure. If you only start light, you can always change your entry, right? Because just having an entry makes entering later a lot easier as well. Even if you wait until this box gets flipped to support, even if you do that, having a light entry here makes it a lot easier. Because then your average is going to be somewhere over here. So you just put your stops to entry. You just add over here and put your stops to entry, which is going to be over here in profit. So it can be really nice to have a light entry. Heavy entries wouldn't do it. I wouldn't enter heavy. Because there's a good chance if you enter late that it's going to be in a loss for a while, right? But the idea is that you have such a low allocation that it doesn't matter. Have you ever felt underexposed at this moment? I'm assuming you weren't feeling any of this. I guess this is where trading psychology comes into play. Yeah, I was, for sure. I felt underexposed when I exited the market, for sure. Because I exited the market mostly a bit too early, essentially. Now, okay, I'm gonna go to USDT almost for this. So I TP'd most of my bag. Oh wait, I was explaining something on that chart. Okay, so I TP'd most of my bag over here. I made it very public, right? I said I am TP 50% of all of my spot positions. Said that in my channel. We TP'd and then went up, which was good. And then we started adding back in and adding back in. And then somewhere in this region, I was like, I think this chart looks terrible. And we have really big daily divergences. And after that, we swept on the daily and I fully exited. Now, when I fully went out, I went 80% USDT. When I did that, BTC started to rally, like really rally, because this looks like a higher low over here, right? But when we look at BTC, it was still going for all-time highs. And I was like, this is at all-time highs now. It's going to consolidate and also going to run. That's what I thought. The benefit I have for that, and this is truly a benefit that I like trading harmonics, because this is a really good coincidence, is that the harmonics are there, if I want it or not. I have traded harmonics for a while now, and I can see them without drawing them, right? I showcased that last stream as well. I look at the chart, I see the harmonics because I chart them so much. And then I put them on the chart, both to share the chart and as a reminder, like, hey, there's a harmonic here. I had this box marked out for the longest time. I've had this box marked out ever since we started doing this, right? Ever since we broke this high, I had this marked out. I cannot remove the fibs. That is the thing. This box is there if I wanted to or not. So even if I feel underexposed, this box is screaming at me, there is a really good chance the market goes down. If we flip this box, that is a different story. But this box is screaming at me, hey, the market is probably going down. So that is also a trading psychology thing where even if I feel like I'm underexposed, my charts are going to tell me, hey, you are right to be careful. When I look at USDT dominance as well, right? I'm looking at this chart and this harmonic is just screaming at me, hey, you are probably going higher. Be careful. That is what this chart is telling me. So that is partially trading psychology, yeah. Yeah, no problem at all. And that's the thing as well. I think trading psychology is the biggest part of trading. The market's always uptrend, more or less. You can be a profitable trader by literally just buying BTC every month. Like every month, you just get a part of your paycheck and you put it into BTC and you're going to be profitable. Same with SPX, right? You can just DC into SPX. But that's not what we're here to do. If you're going to actively trade, it is going to be very mentally taxing. And trading psychology is a massive part of that. Especially for things like news events. Because I put it in chat yesterday that, what's it called? I put it in chat yesterday before the news was about to happen, because I had a discussion with some people that I said, you can see news in the chart before it happens. And that discussion went on, and they said, okay, do it then, we have news. So I said, well, I think we're just going to go down tomorrow. And I can easily say that, right? I can say that, like, hey, I think the news is going to happen and we're going to go down after that. But every time something like that happens, everyone is going to be against me. Every time I am looking at BTC and I go back to this chart and I'm saying I am going to short 107k, almost everyone is going to disagree with that. And that is really mentally taxing. And in the end, when you think about it, that is a good thing, right? Because most people lose in the market. So if most people disagree with you, then that is a good thing. But it is still mentally taxing. So that is truly the hardest side of trading. Yeah, that is that's what I would have said as well for the books. The person that asked it, Skippy Boys. This one. Thanks all for that. Figure BT, like... Yeah, I do, actually, I do. I do think of it like one of the indexes. There are a few assets I DCA in over time. One of them is obviously SPX. One of them is gold, although I don't do it religiously over time because this is less convenient because I want physical gold. So that's just way less convenient, so I don't actually do it very consistently every month. And the other is BTC. And I am considering adding HSI to this. HSI USDT. Nice. This is the Hong Kong stock index, so essentially the Chinese index. You can buy gold at Walmart. What? I was actually IRL doing exactly that mode. I was just looking at it like, what is he saying? Yeah, I'm considering adding HSI to this as a risky version of the SPX. But in general, the reason behind it is if the markets are going to be uptrending over time, which is just reliant on the dollar being bad and inflating, which is pretty likely to happen, then I wouldn't be a part of that. So I have a part of my portfolio that is BTC that I will never sell, that I'm just DCAing into over time, and I will look at it again in like 20 years. I'm just putting a little bit into it every month, and then I will see where we end up. Because when you look at assets like the SPX, like how big is that actually paying off? If you actually just put a little bit into it every month and just never sell. If it goes down, well, you just buy a little. And if it goes up, you just buy a little more. And that pays off over time, just recompounding. So I do that with a few assets. You can... Oh, no, that's Bouillon, okay. Made some problems with a long gold around the area. Oh, that's really nice. Wait, did that actually happen? Because I remember I charted that for someone. Did it actually hit that? Yeah, very close to it. Oh, that's really nice actually. Yeah, it got close. It got close. It front ran. There's something I do on these assets where they don't really respect harmonics below, with an XD below 1. They either front run it or go a bit higher. Yeah, so this was area to bid. Kind of front run it. That was a good long. Well played. It just bounced off of this area. That's really nice. Okay, where were we? Yeah, the frog. I think the frog looks pretty good. I have to show it already. Oh, we actually tapped that. Wait. Let me look at this. I think this flip pool was done from over here. Oh, yeah, this looks great actually. Like really good. Let me chart this out fully. I know someone in a different Discord that is going to be really happy with this chart. There's no one from that Discord in here, is it? No. No, Jacoby. I don't know if any of you guys know him. That's why. Am I on the right path? Best way to learn fib indicator. For fibs, what I would start with, I'm gonna finish this first because otherwise it's gonna be too chaotic to finish. This is your Guardi. This is a really nice chart actually. Guardly. Okay. Best way to learn fibs is start like this. The easiest way to learn fibs is just use the regular fib retracement tool, and you take a very important low, just like this, to a very important high. So this chart is really easy because we have essentially one low and one high. So you just pull that, and you look at the reactions on these levels. So, for example, when you look at this 382, it has been acting as resistance quite a bit. Same for the 0.5, it has been acting as support. Where are we currently bouncing? Off this 786. That is the easiest way to start with fibs. Start drawing fibs like this and see how they react. These are essentially just support and resistance areas. I would wait with the fans until you understand the regular fibs. I have a video on fibs in my recordings channel. Wait, let me... It is somewhere over here. I'll scroll up a bit. It's in this message. I have a video on fibs over there. If you're interested in fibs, I would recommend giving that a watch. Yeah, some of these numbers are already preset on the indicators. I obviously have a different preset. I use some different numbers. All of these are derived from the Fibonacci sequence. So you cannot just use random numbers. These are essentially the ones you want to use. Let's put these in there. Yep. I go over them in the video as well. The video has everything. So I would recommend giving that a watch if you want to learn them. But yeah, as for Fog, I don't know how to pronounce that name, actually. I think I'm like heavily mispronouncing it, but it is what it is. Yeah, no, I'm not going to use fan for this. I think this looks good. I think this chart looks really good. This is bouncing off of the card really nicely. And you have some divergences on this as well. It's actually RSI ban, something different. People consider the RSI reset after it reaches 50. This is entirely untrue. That is completely incorrect. The RSI does not reset if it touches 50. The RSI gets a lot stronger if it touches 50. If it touches 50 and it touches the oversold area again and forms a bearish divergence or a bullish divergence in this case, that makes it a lot stronger. That's a massive misconception. But anyway, I think this looks really good. I think it's ready to go a lot higher. I would like to either bid a retest of the top of this box over here, or add on a flip of this 707. So let me just pull another flip like that, and then harmonic TPs. And there's your TPs essentially. This is essentially your play. So I would either add on a retest of this, or if we flip and this is support. Both these would be completely fine. If Sol dies, then this will too. Yeah, but as he said at the start of the stream, Sol looks pretty good on a low time frame. On a low time frame, it looks good for higher. So does this one. And there is room for coins to overperform Sol. Because the thing is, yeah, if Sol is going to drop, this is going to drop with it. But this can outperform. And this looks like it wants to outperform because this is a macro level. This is a very important high time frame level. So yeah, these are the targets essentially. 0.382 to 0.4 to 0.54. These are the main targets. But all TPs are listed in blue. Pepe. Okay, Pepe is going to be the last one though. I'm really tired, so I'm going to go off after this one. Bit shorter than usual, but still an hour and a half, so all good. Pepe. Okay, so there is a harmonic over here for Pepe. However, I don't think we actually get this. I don't actually think we get this. And the reason for that is this daily close. If this daily closes like this, I think Pepe is ready for higher. And to be honest, that does mean at least this level. We're almost there already. I would like to see this level flip to support first. Yeah, actually, maybe we just get a retest of this. This is from the harmonic over here. I think we get a retest of this, and then maybe lower. If we flip this to support, that's where you can actually play it. You would be able to long it like this, because I know people are looking for longs on Pepe. That is the only long I would take. Or alternatively, if you see a really good reaction over here, you can maybe long it, but this is way riskier because it's against the trend. Because I do want to point out, this coin is now downtrending. So you don't necessarily want to be looking for longs. So this is a lot riskier, this long. So I wouldn't actually take this. Now this short, this one makes a lot of sense. I would either take this one, or if we do go higher, I would take this one. Something like that. I think both of those are fine, and that's when you can actually short it into this. I know this is a bit of a bearish outlook, but look at a chart like this. This was your low. Very important low. We can see that it's a very important low. It's a very obvious one. We broke that and closed below it. If you use market structure in general, this is now doing this. So lower is more likely. So if we do get higher into this area, you can maybe short a bearish retest. And now for the actual longs, I would only look down here. This is where it enters a swing long. Has it topped? That is really hard to tell. No one can tell you if this is actually topped. I cannot tell you either. I don't know if it's gonna actually top. The way I trade is I just trade the most likely direction. If this coin is downtrending, I'm gonna be looking for shorts. If it's uptrending, we're gonna be looking for longs. And this coin, since it broke this, is clearly downtrending. It even broke this on the daily, so there's no daily downtrend. So should you TP? I cannot tell you that, but I would at least take profits if you get this bearish retest or this one. I cannot tell you it's a full TP, right? I'm not gonna tell you how to manage your bags. But if you do get a bearish retest of this and you're showing a clear rejection, then you should be TPing. You should be taking some profit at least. Because on the daily, this is downtrend. It's that simple. This is a downtrend now. And you don't want to be spot longing a downtrending coin. That doesn't make sense. And you can still hold partials, right? Because I also still hold partials for some other coins. It's not actually downtrending. This isn't either. Wait. This isn't either. Actually, I don't think we do. Okay, well, my example is going out of the window, but yeah, it is not necessarily bad to hold a coin that is partially downtrending when it's still showing a lot of strength. Because when you zoom out further, this coin is still uptrending on the weekly. So it is not bad to be in a position, but I would take profits if you get that retest. And if you then flip it back to support, so let's say you sell over here, right? We get this bearish retest, so you sell over here. And your thesis is, hey, maybe, because this is an important level, if we flip this to support, that's when we're going to add it back in. Those things make a lot of sense. So your scalp risk is going to be minimal. So I would just look for strength. TP weakness at these areas, and you can try, and if you actually start flipping levels to support, you can add it back. That's how I would play it. Okay. Anyway, that is. I think that's gonna be it for me today. If there are no more questions, I'm gonna end the stream here, and I'm gonna log off then. So if you ask any questions, ask me chat now. Oh, Fenry, yeah, I completely ignored you actually. My bad. Yeah, I'll take a look at Fenry. I mean, these are my thoughts on Fenry. Fenry is actually really fast for the reason that we're already in it. I think Fenry is going to go a lot higher. Same pattern as most coins have at the moment. And that's the reason why it was a lot easier for me to be short. Because I saw Discardi on like every chart. Fenry looks really good. We are in, and I'm going to add more if we flip this to support. Then I'm going to add even more if you flip this to support as well. And it's going to be the main TP one. So for Fenry, I think a lot higher. I think this coin looks really good. Because on a very high time frame, I just really like how this coin looks. A lot of accumulation, completely broke out of it. Took the highs over here, started uptrending again, going for the higher low now. So I think this coin looks really good. I will say though, I wouldn't full port here. It's the same reason I ended 20%, right? Because stops are pretty wide, especially over here. I would not enter this. I would wait for a flip if you aren't already in this. But I think it does go a lot higher. Okay, now I'm actually gonna go. I'm gonna end the recording here as well.